Okay, next we're on to texture. And texture is anything that relates to the actual surface of what's in our pictures. So if you were to actually feel those surfaces in real life, how would they feel? Would they feel soft, hard, gritty, whatever it would be? That's what we're talking about, texture. So how can we portray texture in a photograph, which again is something we see with our eyes and we can't really feel, for example, the leaves in the photograph that we're taking a picture of, or whatever we're taking a picture of. How do we portray that? So if we take a look at this picture, there's a lot of textures going on here. So we got the book and that material, which of course would be a smooth material. We have the metal of the axe, which at some parts of the axe looks really smooth, especially like this underside here. And then some that look rough, like in the middle. Then we have the wood, which looks a little bit rough. And then we have this snow. But is this really soft, powdery snow? No, it's not. We can actually see how icy it is, especially in this bottom left and bottom right corner. So how can we, just with our eyes, tell that this is not soft, powdery snow? How can we tell that this part of the axe is soft and smooth, but this part of the axe is rough? Well, just like with form, the tonality shows us texture as well. It shows us how soft or rough something is based off of how bright and dark it is, and how quickly that changes bright and dark. Because it's like essentially casting a bunch of tiny little shadows. So for example, now we look at this tree. If you look at the bark, there's a lot of changes in tonality between the ridges, so we can pretty much tell with our eyes. Even, of course, we know bark is rough, but just with our eyes we can see that, yeah, this tree right here is very rough looking bark. But then even if you just go down here to the moss, how do we know that this moss is pretty soft and it's, it's vibrant? It's because it doesn't change its tonality as much. It's pretty flat looking when it comes to how bright it is, right? Especially over here as well. Same with the ferns. We can just tell just based off of the lighting. How can you tell that my beautiful dog is the fluffiest dog in the world? Because there's not a lot of tonality changes in his fur. But how can you tell that the ground is gravelly and it's rough? Changes in tonality. Something else that's interesting too with regarding textures, for this picture, let's look at the leaves. How do we know that those leaves are not crunchy leaves? And in fact, that they're very smushy? How can we tell the difference? Because there is a lot of changes in tonality in here. But really, it's just how the light is playing off these leaves. They're very bright, vibrant colors, and there's a lot of bright highlights on them, which generally means, okay, they're probably more wet. This picture was taken really close to when it rained. You can see that in the trees, of course, right? But if you could imagine these leaves being very dry and crunchy, if you stepped on them, they would break apart. What would they look like? How would they look dry? Well, the colors wouldn't be as vibrant. They wouldn't be as shiny anymore. So all these tones really show us what the texture of a object in our image is going to be.